1773
I can't even understand
and
what the fuck
unknown
you're saying.
badge number.
Talk right, homie. Speak English first before you talk to me, homie. You sound stupid as fuck, homie. You sound educated as fuck.
Oh, he's talking to me. I'm pressed, sir.
As fuck.
I'm pressed. I have permission from LAPD to be here.
You sound like a dumbass, yeah.
He's a new guy, too. Hey, not worth it. Come on, it's not worth it.
You gonna make us shut the fuck up?
Yeah, I want you to shut
Go
the
ahead.
fuck up.
Make it ain't happening.
What's up? What's up? What's up, my PBM family? What's up? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5-man unit tonight. So when I was in a federal task force, we would take a squad like this, fill it up with cars, and then if we had enough information, we'll go grab we'll go hit a house, is what we call it, to go grab a felony suspect, high-risk felony suspect. So you got a real good squad tonight. Then I got my boy Reg, right? Reg, and this is a good night for Reg because we got a video that one of you guys sent in involving a K9. Reg spent half of his career in patrol, the other half as a highly decorated K9 guy. And this is, when I say highly decorated, he just didn't work for just one department. He worked for the whole state. They used to call him with his dog to travel all over the state, whether it was tracking, drugs, whatever you name it. Every time you needed a K9, it was Reg that they would call. He was one of the best guys in the state that he worked in. I also got David Katz. When it comes down to active shooter, they've been around a long time. So he was around when we was dealing with active shooters. We normally would kind of secure a perimeter, call in SWAT, and we would handle an active shooter in that type of manner. But because of the nature of active shooters and to save a life, we quickly had to revamp the way we approach an active shooter scene. So now it's more repress. We try to hurry up, get in, and eliminate the threat as quick as possible. That required a lot of changing in policy. It required a lot of research. Dave was a part of that training when it came down to active shooter. He traveled all over the country giving the new training to police departments all over the state. Now, we have Ted Golden. He was also a city cop. He did so well as a city cop. He became a DEA agent and traveled all over the nation, taking his talents that he did as a city cop on a federal level. He's the oldest guy in law enforcement. As I say in previous, when I was in junior high school trying to make the varsity team, Ted was out here fighting crime and locking up bad guys. He's one of the guys I go to when I see something that I'm not sure about, not only because he knows police work, he knows the people, he's from the community, and that gives Ted a huge advantage when it comes down to understanding law enforcement. Now, what I'm going to start doing, you guys are starting to send a lot of videos, and I appreciate the support that my supporters is giving the PBM brand. So I'm going to create these segments. One is going to be where we get on and we talk about our most funniest call to our most dangerous calls. So we're going to no holds barred, whatever it is, we're going to be straightforward, transparent. One of the things that you guys have been asking when it comes down to certain videos like this one, the person who sent this video and was like, Joe, I want to hear from the squad when it comes down to Black officers, because I know sometimes Black officers can be worse to deal with when we're in the community. Is there racism within the blue wall? Have you ever experienced anything within that wall, or are you guys all blue? Tell me what you tell me. I want to hear from the unit and the guys in the unit. Now, we do have David Katz, who's not a Black officer. He's a white officer, so he's the minority in the crew this time. That's kind of funny. Dave is the minority guy. So with that said, Dave,
who's in charge of HR today? I'd like to file a complaint. Oh, Joe's in charge of HR.
So Dave, with that said, right? You ever seen any type of race issues in law enforcement, or is everybody pretty much blue from your lens?
People are people when it comes. I tell you what, do I know officers who are racist? Yeah, absolutely. But when it comes down to people you work with, it doesn't matter whether it was a white cop, Black cop, Asian cop, Latvian Orthodox cop. Someone's in trouble, you go stand by him. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this particular clip, I don't even know when it says like Black cops could be the worst. I don't know If that's, I mean, are they talking to other black people? I mean, how do you even establish that this is a racist element at all? Do we know,
Okay,
do we know
so
who they're talking to?
so let me start, right. Me being a vice president of the police union, right? I get to see. I have the experience of seeing when the department, when administration, when the brass writes up officers, whether it's black, white, Latino, Asian, and what I can say is like there's something very similar when you see like the criminal justice system, where you see how a lot of blacks were getting a lot more stiffer penalties versus a white defendant. I mean, they've had studies and shown that blacks were getting a lot stiffer penalties. As a police vice president of a union who defend cops when they get jammed up, when they get policy violations, I can say that there was or I did experience where the punishments and the recommendations was a lot stiffer when it came down to black officers versus white officers for the actual same, whether they got caught sleeping on a job, where they got a subject had a weapon on them and they was released to the sheriff's department or corrections and they supposed to have searched them, and then once they got inside they found something, that's also a violation. If you don't check your vehicle and the next officer gets in that vehicle and searches and finds a weapon, you get jammed up. People have lost badges and foot pursuits. I actually lost a badge and chasing somebody in a foot pursuit, but after I caught him, I went back and was able to recover it, so I didn't get jammed up. But there is violations that I've noticed as a vice president of the union representing officers who have written up. The penalties seem to be a lot more stiffer when it came down to black officers. Now, when this person sent this video, right? This person was sitting in the videos because I've heard multiple times where black officers are a lot or worse to deal with in certain communities, plus in the black community, when it come down to how they feel like, yo, why you feel the need to show off for the blue? Like I've heard I've heard firsthand black individuals on the street go, man, I'd rather deal with a white boy dealing with you. What you going so hard for? So there is a level of a mindset that not all, and I'm telling you, I haven't experienced this a lot. I think I experienced this like twice, where I see a black officer go extremely hard, and I had to pull him aside and go, yo, what you doing? I've seen you search people before. I've seen you communicate with people. Why are you going so hard? And I've seen officers do that, especially black officers. Matter of fact, one of the guys came out of my class, and that I know, but I've seen him police other whites in a different manner. So is it he's showing off or what that situation is? I have seen that. Now, that's just my own personal experience. I'm not expecting you, Dave, as a white officer to have those experiences, because we all have different experiences. So when it comes out to the panel, I just wanted to ask, because this is the audience, they're asking these questions, and we're being transparent. We're letting it all out on the table. Reg, have you experienced or seen anything of that nature?
No, not really, but I treat people like this. I treat you normal, but if you go hard, I go harder. You know?
Yeah. I definitely understand that, because I'm pretty much the same way. I used to always tell people, you dictate the level. You show respect, you're going to get respect. If you show like you want to be disrespectful, to a certain degree, I'm going to be a little bit more forceful with you. I'm going to keep it within professionalism, but you're not going to get a friendly cop. You know, I can be firm and fair with you at the same time. Ted, what do you think? Have you ever experienced anything when it came down to race?
I hate to say it, but I have. Unfortunately, I was part of the leadership for our baseball park here in DeKalb County. And an officer showed up at the baseball park, and he wanted to drive on the concrete where there's a chain that says no vehicles on the concrete, because it leads up to the baseball fields. We're having a administrative meeting, and the meeting is over, and this cop pulls up and he wants to drive on the concrete. Well, we're on the second level of the building. There's nobody on the baseball field. And this guy insists on driving on the concrete. Of course, everybody knew I was a DEA agent, so they turned and looked at me, and I said, let him have what he wants. Just let him go. I took out my phone. I took a picture. I called the major that runs the precinct, and I told him what happened. Now, you know, that was handled very quickly. Now, there was a second incident when COVID happened. I had a young lady who was, she didn't pay a ticket. They were going to tow her car. And because of COVID, they decided not to arrest her, but to tow her car anyway. And she called me. Her mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer and has since passed away, but had driven to the scene to pick her up because they wouldn't let her car go. So she called me. I went over and I talked to her. And I talked to the officer, and he was very disrespectful. So I called my son. He's a major. At the time, he was a lieutenant with the police department. And I said, what do I do? He said, ask for a supervisor, Dad. So I asked for a supervisor, and the young man said, I am the supervisor. Well, it turns out he was the son of a high-ranking official in the police department. So when my son asked me who he was, they towed the car anyway, and I had a place I could park it. Two doors down was a friend of mine's house. They could have parked the car there. But he insisted on towing the car anyway. He didn't arrest the girl. And my son, when I called him back, he said, I'm going to take care of that right now. I said, what you going to do? He said, I'm calling his dad to let his dad know I'm writing him up myself. Because when you ask for a supervisor, you're supposed to bring a supervisor. And you know, so you have to realize that, unfortunately, we got some folks that don't know how to act. I can say I never did anything. I felt like I never did anything to offend people as a Black person. But I will say, I'll say this in closing. You have to come at our folk a little bit different sometimes so they know you're not joking. And unfortunately, it just happens that way. Because if you're in a crowd of people and they're being disrespectful, they're not following your instructions, then there are consequences. And, you know, I was in Memphis, so I can tell you right now, I put my hands on folk. I can tell you I only punched one guy the whole time I was a cop, 3 years. But there were some times that I had to make folks
killed
feel
his family. That's why.
Yeah, I had to make them feel
Killed the
uncomfortable.
whole family.
Yeah, and I'm a project boy, so I know what it's like to run from the police. I know what it's like to be afraid. But at the same time, if you walk around being like a punk, they're gonna punk you. So you got to be stern with them. I try not to curse people, but you know, when it got to a point to where they were being disrespectful, I had to flip the script on them and get things done. So I understand. But those two situations are just two. There's several more, but those two are the ones that I know that are more recent, and I felt like they meet your criteria. Where I was embarrassed to be a cop, especially a law enforcement, because this guy insisted on driving on the concrete. Come on, dude, don't do this. But you know, the consequences. So it happened.
Appreciate that. As we was talking, my partner Shane jumped in. He did a lot of he did 20 plus years on the job. He was a commander of the SWAT team. He also, if anybody knows about the Red Dogs in Atlanta, you watch the show BMF. There was a tactical drug and gun unit like I was a part of. They went out and went really hard on BMF. Now 50 Cent got a show. So when I tell you, Shane knows the streets, he knows drugs, he knows guns, he knows tactics. He just jumped in the squad. I don't know if you heard the question or not, so I'll just revamp it. You heard it?
Yes, I did. I
okay,
did.
so tell me, you know, you hear, you know, it was all blue, pretty much, or was there a difference between white officers and Black officers? This is strictly coming from the audience. They want to ask these questions. So I'm asking the squad, what was your experiences when it came down to it?
Personally, I have an incident. I've got treated worse by command staff who were Black than I did for white command staff. I had an issue where I had stopped a subject, car came back, no registration, no insurance. Stopped him. Came to find out that his registration was valid. His insurance had lapsed, but his wife usually handles that for him. But his wife was on her way to the hospital. She was having a baby. So when you have no insurance, my captain kept telling me to go ahead and tow the car. I had him call the insurance company. I spoke to the insurance agent. They verified that he had insurance, and I let him go on his way. My senior staff, my officer, I was in touch with the captain. wanted to give me 40 in the street, and he got away with 3 of them because he felt that the car should have been towed, and really it's officer discretion. And I had another white command staff officer who got me off that. So I experienced some trouble with inside the ranks, to be honest with you. And that's my extent of my dealings.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Would you like, far as did you have black or white supervisors, just for the whole panel? And did you feel any difference in the supervision versus white? Because I can tell you right now, I'd rather work for a white supervisor any day before I work for a black. It seemed like, for me, white supervisors treated me well, and of course, it had a lot to do with I made them look good. I really did. Not to say I didn't make the black guys look good, but when it came down to it, it seemed like they was really anal about everything. White supervisors wasn't. As long as I was not putting them in a jam with anything, they was pretty cool. I can tell you hands down, I'd rather work for a white supervisor over a black supervisor any day. It seems like for me, as a officer, as a street cop who always was in the middle of everything, I've always rather had to give my arrest folder to a white supervisor versus a black supervisor. It seemed like a black supervisor was always, well, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why? I'm like, dude, like, what are you talking about? That's just my own personal experiences dealing with it.
I have to agree with you, Joe. I have to agree with you. We had one time when we had our morning briefing, and we were going over the captain was going over tickets, how many tickets we had, how many traffic tickets, and I was very low on traffic tickets. That's not my thing. I'm more DV, domestic violence, drugs, things of that sort, slaughter crimes, stolen autos, breaking and entry. That's my thing. I've had the most arrests that month, but my senior staff had chewed me out because I didn't have enough traffic tickets, and I couldn't believe he embarrassed me. Really, I stayed silent in front of the whole team. Oh, you can't write tickets. You can't do like so and so, such and such, and it was a little embarrassing. I've experienced some black officers really in command staff go harder than my white superiors. White superiors, easy, laid back. I had good numbers. I showed productivity for the month.
Right.
Cool. I had other supervisors where when I write my reports, oh, you left this out. You should have did this. Caution that was very, very, very meticulous.
Right.
Okay, wait a second. What's going on here? So I've had some tough situations,
Yeah, and I wasn't a numbers guy as well. I couldn't stand that. I hated to play the numbers game, and I had some really good white supervisor lieutenants. And when they addressing the platoon, they were like, "Look, our numbers is low." The captain is like, "This don't apply to nothing. This don't apply to Joe because I can have 3 arrests out the whole month, but it was guns, it was drugs, it was high quality arrests." I always told them, like, I didn't take this job to be sitting at a stop sign or a stoplight just giving out a bunch of tickets. I never was. I think the ticket book that I graduated with, that's the same ticket book I left. I did not like writing traffic infractions. I just did not do that. And, I wanted to go after the guns, the drugs, the murderers, the rapists. I felt that if you're going to be a cop, if you're going to go out and do the job, do it right. So I was, especially when I was in patrol, they gave me a lot of leeway because I was doing those type of arrests. So I was never a numbers guy, but I think you're right. I think that's one of the major problems when you go out and you force officers to make just mediocre arrests. That was just not the way I seen policing. Anybody else got anything to add on that?
I was similar to that, but like we didn't have to do numbers, but I like to do the felonies, the carjackers, the bank robbers, the ag burglars, the dope dealers.
Yes.
Those are the ones I went after. I might write 20 tickets in a year, or maybe 2 years. That's how long it take me to get rid of a book.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you say, I don't care nothing about tickets. Everybody do a little something,
Right, exactly.
But,
the key is we show productivity, quality arrests that stuck, that got people jail time, that got bad people off the streets. That's why I became an officer. That's the only reason.
Yeah. I couldn't. One of the guys was like, "Joe, I got more arrests to do." One of my arrests, I remember one of my arrests was a most wanted guy, and the guy had a gun on him, and he had some drugs on him. I was like, my one arrest just wipes away your 10 traffic. I mean, he used to sit behind a traffic stop sign and just write people for rolling through it. I'm like, oh my God. I just think that for as an officer, law enforcement, like you just wasting time. You wasting people's time, like you really are.
Yeah.
Ted, you got anything? I know you always have a story for anything, for everything.
I got a good one for you. So when I was a rookie, day shift, and this guy he came in the precinct the first day. He picked up a chair and threw it on the floor and broke it apart. And he was the guy I was stuck riding with. So we get this call about this vicious guy in the neighborhood, and we pull up, and he says, "There he is." So I jumped out the car and got in the run position. You know, I'm ready to catch him.
Right.
All of a sudden, the guy put his hands up. He put his hands up, and he turned around, and we called him back to us. And my senior partner says, "Why didn't you run? Why didn't you run?" He said, "He looked like he could catch me." You don't want to have when the police chase you and catch you, right? Supposedly.
Yes.
Hey, check this out.
I admit, I look good, man. I was about 230 pounds, slim and mean and slim and ready to go get it. I broke down to go get him. He said, "Oh no."
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. One of the guys is a retired captain with the NYPD. He's actually my partner in my business, and he's 6'4". He's really fast, and he would catch guys in the hood, and that would be like they wouldn't run because they didn't want to be shamed by having this older white guy catch him.
So
that was never me, but that was never me, by the way. I always had to work with someone fast. So you catch him, I'll grab him.
So there you have it, my PVM family. There you have it. We brought it to you. We told you how we feel. Even though Dave was the only white minority guy on the panel.
Like I'm back in high
Dave,
school.
how it feels to be the minority, bro?
See, to me, you're my brothers anyway. I feel like it's family. So
There you go, brother.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
It's all about that blue. It's all about that blue, man.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, can you believe, right, some of the stories that you're hearing when it comes down to race within the blue wall? Race within the blue.
I'll tell you something interesting. I think I told you the story before, Joe. I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. I was volunteering. There's an organization called something like Never Going Back. Anyway, it's for young African American boys who got jammed up in their teens or early 20s, and they got either a sentence. They had their sentences either expunged or they were still sealed because of they were juvenile. And I was volunteering doing security guard class so they could actually get the license so they could do security work. And a lot of these guys were like, really squared away and like, guys, why don't you go into the PD? And they said, no. And they would, and exactly what you were saying, like the black cops we know, they're the worst, they're the toughest on us. I said, well, that doesn't mean you have to be that way. You could be whatever way you think is appropriate to deal with people.
Right.
And I cannot tell you. And then I asked them at that time, the fire department was desperately trying to become more diversified.
Right.
And I said, I know people in recruitment. Let me put you in touch. Nope. It wouldn't do it. And you know what the reason was? I can't say exactly the way they said it, but this is exactly what one of the funniest guys I ever met. He said, no, you don't understand. You see, you're white. You don't understand. He said, black guys don't want to be firefighters because you have to deal with two things that black guys hate. Like something like freezing water and something like I'm laughing at him. I said,
Burn it up.
Look at how it was so, it was so funny when he said it, but I said, he was such a talented kid. And I said, he would have been great as a cop. Because he had that like disarming way about you, where like you could be in a confrontation and you just say like a funny, like something funny, and it diffuses everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was like. But I don't know, he just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we they sent this video in, and you see three officers. The officer in the middle, he looked real uncomfortable. He didn't look like he was too happy with what his partner was doing. He actually reached over to him to tell him like to calm down, which I think he could have been a little bit more assertive with that. I mean, it's okay to say, "Come on, that's enough. Chill. Let's just get up out of here." I mean, the officer, to me, I don't know if it was race related, but the officer was so out of line. He was unprofessional. We deal with jerks all day long. I mean, we have to maintain a certain professionalism with us, regardless of how people act. You know, people like to say, "Oh, what did that person do?" or "How did they do it?" Regardless of how they act. The profession is a really good profession, and I expect every person wearing that badge and a gun to conduct themselves as a professional that they should be. You know, I just hate to see when they just tarnish the badge. Like, I don't care what the other person did. We still have to maintain. That's what separates us from the rest of the general public. So I'm not giving no officer any type of pass when they throw the professionalism out the window. I just don't. I remember when I was coming through the training of the academy, I was like, listen, you know, what I was told, what makes you different than the general public is most people who act like assholes can approve of you smacking the hell out of them by saying, yeah, they deserve it. You can't do that as an officer. You can't do that. You have to be able to have more restraint than the average person. You have to be able to say, you know what? I want to smack the shit out of them, but I can't. Right. And that shit is hard to do a lot of times. It's right, but that's what separates you from everybody else.
Hey, Joe, remember that conversation we had? I don't know, it was a couple of years back. I think there were two Asian officers, NYPD, who some guys in the street like took water, started pouring bottles of water on them.
Yes.
Do you remember? Did you remember what you told me how you would handle that? That didn't sound very restrained, I think.
What, really? I wasn't professional.
Because you do what everyone else would do.
I wasn't professional.
Well, you could.
No, I probably told you.
I would say in that case, like upholding the badge is professional, but I know.
Okay, long as I'm upholding. See, I had certain ways of dealing with things, and I would push it to the envelope, but I would maintain the professionalism. But yeah, it was coming from that neighborhood and that environment. I had a little bit of back and forth. I grew up in going to back and forth, and your mama jokes, this and that. Yeah. That's what it was, but I don't want to spend too much time on this video because we got two more, and I'm getting the signal to wrap it up. So, like I told my audience, if you got a beef with an officer, we don't know whether you're coming across a bad one or a good one. Take your gripe to the courtroom. More officers are getting in trouble now. They're being held accountable for their bad acts. So be safe. See you next video.